Welcome to CBJin30, presented by Ohio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott. I'm joined right now by Blue Jackets goaltender Joonas Korpisalo, who just this week signed a brand new contract, 2 more years in a Blue Jackets uniform. And Joonas, anytime you're going into a contract year, I know that there's some anxiety. Maybe not that you're not going to get a deal, but when are you going to get the deal? What's the deal going to be for? All those things. How happy are you just to have a deal done, know where you stand for the next couple of years, and be ready to mentally get back to work?
Just really happy. Didn't take a long time to get it done, and for the next 2 years, it's been a fun ride with Columbus for the last 5 years, and just honored to get the chance to continue and continue to prove myself, and it's a great place to keep working.
Do you when you just said 5 years, do you ever pinch yourself and say, I can't believe it's already been 5 years I've been in this organization?
Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies by so fast, and that was my 5th season already. I know, it's crazy.
It's your 5th season, but this year is the year that you got a chance to legitimately be the starting goaltender. You knew going in that you were going to have that opportunity with Sergei Bobrovsky leaving. You and Elvis Merzlikins were going to battle it out. You did that through training camp, got your opportunity, and really made the most of it. And I guess at the beginning it was a slow start, but it was a slow start as a team at the beginning. Once you started to feel comfortable in your game and you saw the guys were feeling comfortable in their game, how nice was it just to know that you had really taken that spot at that point?
Like you said, we had a little slow start in there, and at point we started winning games, and I played a lot of games as well there, and being a part of a team that wins games, it's really great, and you feel the atmosphere in the room, and you feel like you're a big part of it, and it's just it's great to be a part of it.
I remember talking to John Tortorella in the early part of the season, and a couple of weeks in, I remember he said to me at one point, he said, Corpy has started to make that big save in a game, or he'll make one big save or 2 big saves that really gives the team confidence. It's such an unfair position, right? I mean, like you're doing so many things. The first little mistake you make that costs your team a goal is one that people go back to all the time. You almost have to be flawless and perfect. But what can you describe making that big save? Like, do you know when there's a particular save in a game that you make where you say, where you can just see the attitude of the guys that it made a difference to them?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you said, I felt really good on the ice in the early season, but I realized that I'm not making the big save on the right moments. And at some point, I started making those big saves when the team needed it, and those are the moments that turns the game for us, or we win games, stuff like that. And yeah, it's a fine line. I mean, it's just one or two saves that keeps the team in there, and or keeps the lead of the game for us. And it's all those little details. It just clicks at some point, and start making those.
And those little details really can be from the way that you have yourself prepared. And over these years, and especially the last couple of years in the NHL, as a backup, it's tough because you're practicing and you always have to be sharp. You have to be ready to go in at every single play. But how much of that work in the practice that you put in, and learning how to be a better practice player, learning how to be a better pro when it comes to the things that you have to do day in and day out, how much has that contributed to being able to make that big save, being able to start 3 out of 4 games every week?
I mean, past, before this season, I mean, 4 years practicing a lot, not playing that many games as now, then you have that practice time. And I had Bob there, who, I learned a lot from him when I got into the league, and, great goalie coaches on the way. And, 4 years to learn lessons from each game and each little mistake, and I think that kind of adds up to it.
What did you learn from Sergei Bobrovsky when it comes to that? Because he is such a different guy. He's got that workout routine that is legendary, and he's almost like a robot in the way that he goes about things. It's funny because your personalities are different. you're a little bit more open, a little bit more fun. But when it came to the actual watching how he did his things during practice, how he had himself prepared for games, how invaluable was that for you so that you could take the things that you liked out of that and put it into your own game?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge from the point when I got to Columbus for the first time. I actually saw like how the best of the best, how they work and at the rink. And from that moment on, I tried to pick all the things that he's doing really well. Like you said, work ethic. That's something everyone knows, and all the attention to details. It's massive, and you start doing those little details right, and after all, the big picture looks really good.
When you came into camp this year, again, you knew you'd have a chance to win the starting job, but you knew you were going to have to compete against a guy who had just played a couple of really good years in Switzerland, and Elvis Merzlikins, guy that was a big prospect. He's been talked about for years, but also a guy that you knew from development camps before, and a
Yeah.
guy that you had a relationship with. Um, what is that competition like to go into it where, from the outside, it's very easy for people to think that you don't get along and that you're just whatever you can do, you're going to find a way to beat that other guy. But really, it's a team thing when it comes to goaltenders, isn't it?
It is, and when you have such a great relationship with the goalies, it makes everything so much easier. You get to a rink. Of course, we compete when we go down to the ice, but same time, we're having fun competing and being supportive and stuff like this. I mean, yeah, like you said, I've known him since development camps. We were roommates back then too. We didn't really know how to speak English back then, so yeah. We know from a long way, and it's really fun to work with him, and all the competition, it pushes us forward, both of us.
And I think that's something that people don't realize, because from the time that you're a young age and you decide to be a goaltender, it's pretty much you and one other guy. And I know from my experience with my son going through it, when you're young, it's not only the two goalies, it's like there's that competitive edge between the parents where everybody wants their kid to play, right? I get
Right?
it. Everybody
Yeah.
wants their kid to play. Every kid wants to play, but that's a relationship that you learn to develop really at a young age. And I'm sure that there's sometimes that it's a really good relationship with the other guy, and sometimes it's probably not so good, but you make it work.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you try to make the best out of it, and I think that how it happens is to have a really good relationship, and having each other's backs, and supporting, and works both ways.
And he was a guy that, came over here with all this fanfare, but yet he started the season very rough. It went a long time before he picked up his first win. He even admitted that he was, doubting himself in some ways. He didn't know what to do. Did you kind of stay away from him during that time, or kind of pick your spots as far as being now the veteran NHL guy to try to help him along?
I don't know if I'm a 100% veteran right now, but yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the same age as me. I mean, 25. We're not that rookies anymore. And the moment he came to Columbus, I saw he's a pro guy, and the way he handles himself, it's really good. And times when you feel down and stuff like this, try to help the friend next to you. So you know, try to have his back there, and if he had something to ask from me, I try to help him 100%.
It is so weird how things worked out this year, because you take that starting job, you wind up getting hurt in a shootout. He has to come in, and at that point, he has to be the starter, and he finds his game. So you were playing. You were an all-star. You were named to the all-star game, and unfortunately, you weren't able to play in. But you come in. There are a lot of questions about whether or not you could take that job and run with it. You prove that by being an all-star. You get hurt. He comes in. All of a sudden, he goes on quite the tear. And then when you're coming back, he gets hurt, and you have to go right back into the net again. Look, nobody wants anybody to get hurt. But when you look back on the whole thing, how strange was that, where whoever had to take over for the other guy was really at the top of his game?
I know that was pretty crazy, right? At some point things just click, and getting injured is never fun, And I was out for a while, and uh, stepped in and took his place and helped the team win. That's all it takes. that was great to see. I mean, the team needs two really good goals, and both guys stepped in.
Is it hard at all? Like when you're hurt, you know, there's nothing you can do, and you see the team still having success. And it's not that you want them to lose. I understand, but you know, after finally getting that chance and winning that job, and then seeing that they're doing it without you, how much do you have to block that out of your mind and just concentrate on the rehab that you need to do and getting yourself better and healthy again?
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes. You get injured, and team starts to win a lot of games, and you're just at the press box watching the game, and you're like, wow, I just wish I will be there too with the team, helping them to win. But that's part of sports. You get injured, and you have to have the mindset just to focus on your rehab, and try to get back in the game as soon as possible and support the teammates. But it's hard at some points, but I'm glad it's over now.
When you suffered that injury, did you know right away when you made that move in the shootout? I know you dropped to the ice pretty quick, but did you know the moment it happened that this is not good?
Yeah, I mean the moment I got up, I was like, okay, something's wrong right now. So yeah, things like that happen. You know it right away.
All right, let's go back in time to when you were a kid and you were playing. I mean, your dad was a pro player, and your dad
Yeah,
was a forward, and he was a scorer.
yeah.
How does the son of a scoring forward wind up being a goaltender? Uh, First of all, how old were you when you started playing hockey? Like when you got on your first team? Do you remember?
I think I was three years old when I started skating first time. So I was really really young. Um, I think I was 8 years old when I started going like full time goalie because I remember I was a player, really good skater. That's what I remember. And our team had they just bought this new goalie gear. We had rotating guys going into the net. I was like, okay, I want to try it too. The gear looks really really nice, and from the first moment I tried it, I was like, okay, you know, I want to be goalie full time, and yeah, it just took me in, and I remember my dad was like, okay, you sure you want to go into the net? You, you can still try to be a forward or something, and I was like, no, I'm not going there unless I go in the net.
When you mentioned about being a really good skater, and I think that's something that people don't realize. They see that a goalie just kind of mans the crease and you go from side to side, but the fact of the matter is, to be a goaltender, you have to be a good skater because there's so many things that you have to do. You're down, you're up, you're side to side, your push offs, all of that. How important is that skating to play that position?
It's huge. It's actually that's like I would say skating. If you're not a good skater as a goalie, it's you can move on the ice. So as a goalie, every time you try to make a stop, stop the puck, it's something you do is you try to get to the right position. And if you're not a good skater, that's not going to happen. And you find the puck behind you really quickly after that. So yeah, it's let's say normal practice. We skate every day without pucks, and that's majority of our goalie technical stuff, only skating.
So was it a big sell job on your dad to get that full time goalie position?
Uh, yeah, he was trying. I remember 2 or 3 years. He was like, "You sure? You sure?" So, but yeah, he was like, "Okay, just go to the net, and you're happy there." And yeah, it's been since.
And how much during that time, especially when you were younger and you were first getting into it, did you skate with him and did he shoot on you? And I mean,
Yeah,
that's quite the advantage, by the way, especially as you start getting older. If you had a dad that played pro hockey and can give you some
oh
real
yeah,
good quality shots.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he came to our ice practices sometimes just to shoot to me and hang out with the team. And he was a pro back then when I started being a goalie too. So yeah, he took me into their practice, and I get to skate with the team a little bit, and he was shooting a little bit and stuff like this. And yeah, he's been a real help, especially early of my career. He doesn't know anything about the goalie stuff, but the how to be a pro and how to approach things when you're starting your pro career.
And that is such a huge advantage, isn't it, to be around it and to just see how guys handle themselves. And I'm sure not only your dad, because look, every kid, they don't pay attention to their own parents nearly as much as they pay to everybody else. So when you get a chance to go into those rinks and be around him, be around his teammates, just be in the atmosphere, looking back on it, how much did that help you to learn how to be a pro?
I mean, that was huge. I mean, that's how I spent my childhood. I was hanging out at the rink all the time. So it's, something that's always been there, and, seeing it close when I was a kid, and having my dad supporting me all the way. And yeah, it's been huge, huge.
Now, as it's gone on and as you've gotten older, how much has the business aspect of hockey helped as well? I mean, because your dad, when he got done playing, he's been in management. Just like this, we're talking about you signing a new contract. Having somebody to talk to about those types of things that really gets it. He really understands. He went through the same things. He had contracts. He signed contracts with players in a management role. How valuable was that to have him to bounce those kind of things off of too?
Yeah, it's been, like I said, starting my early career when I was 16, 17, 18. That's the point when he steered me to the right people he knew, and I've been since with them. Let's say my agent. Yeah, had a lot of contacts all over the place because he was a big time player in Finland on his own time, and yeah, that's something he brought in too.
All right, when you were growing up, besides your dad, who was your favorite hockey player?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, starting to play goalie, and grew a little bit older. Mika Kiprosov, he was the guy that every Finnish little goalie out there was watching up. And yeah, there's been a couple other guys too. I mean, when I was 15, teenager, I was watching the NHL highlights every morning when I woke up, and I remember Tuukka Rask and Pekkarinen was my favorite.
And now you've played in games against those guys. I mean, they've been on the other end of the ice. Is that, when you first did it, especially, was it kind of surreal to you that, there's this one-on-one battle of goaltenders going on with a guy that you spent time as a kid trying to watch and learn from and get better from?
Oh, that was insane. I remember I played my first game against Pekka, and in Nashville, and I remember that was my first season. First period, the game is 1-1, and I had like 26 saves, and he had 2. I was like, wow, I'm actually playing against Pekka right now, and I had just 26 saves in a period. So yeah, it's that's something you really cherish at the moment, and still do. I mean, there's a lot of players as well when I was watching them from the highlights, and never really thought I would ever play against them.
Actually, when it's 26-2 in shots, there's only one goalie playing. That would have been he was spectating. He
that was a crazy period. I still remember that.
Hey, when you talked about getting up and watching the NHL highlights, here in the United States, the games are happening here, and they're happening in Canada. Yeah. They're happening in this time zone. So, people get up here and watch the highlights, but they can also watch the games. With the time difference there, how tough was it to watch NHL games, and how much did you actually to get to see them live?
I actually, we never had the channels how to watch it live. So it's, the games happen, let's say the game started at 7 o'clock in America, and that's 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in Finland time. So it's hard. I mean, sometimes I watch the games, and usually, like, as I said, I woke up and see the highlights from the TV and or internet, watch all the saves from the goalies as well. That's what I did a lot.
All right. Your number 70. What's the significance of the number for you?
A lot of people ask that. I mean, there's no significance. I remember my first development camp. The goalies have numbers 60, 70, 80, 90. But yeah, I used to be 35 when I was in Finland, or number 1, and I got the number 7 in the development camp. I was like, okay, this is a little bit different, and I kept it since.
And it was funny because, of course, when Sergei Bobrovsky came in, he had been 35 in Philadelphia. He changed his to 72, and now that's almost it's almost common for guys to have different numbers. Let me ask you this from a player standpoint, and it is about numbers, because it used to be, you got the high numbers in development camp, Or if you were a
Yeah.
rookie and you were in training camp and you were trying to make it, you had the high number. And if you made the team, usually the number changed and it dropped down to something that was,
Yeah.
somewhat normal. But now guys they're taking different numbers. And, you just said you didn't do this, but in some cases, guys are trying to create their own brand with those numbers now. And it's kind of a neat thing to watch. And I'm trying to think, what other goalies wear 70s? Anybody else? I can't think.
Braden Holtby.
Oh, yeah. Well, good Lord. Yeah, there's a pretty good example, and I should have thought about that right off the bat. I've seen that guy plenty. But, okay, so when you, have you thought of any of that stuff, or are you at the point where you think you got to be a little bit better before you can really brand?
I think that I never thought that way. I don't have any social. I don't have Twitter or Instagram anymore, so I'm not into that too much. But the way how you build your brand, you have to prove it on the ice first, and then start building that, and that's how it goes. I mean, say like big time players like Ovechkin, everyone knows he's number 8. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how you know when you made it as a goalie. You just have to sneak over to the ice house during some of those youth games, and when the goalies are wearing your number, then you've made it.
Agreed. I got to go in there and check it out if anyone has it.
So now you're back over in
Hope
Finland
so.
right now. You're back over in Finland right now during all this this pause that's going on. How important was it to you once the NHL said that you could go back to your home country? How important was it to you to get out, to get back home, just not knowing what was going on in the world?
When we got the info about it, I stayed in there for a while. I think I stayed in there for like two more weeks and 3 more weeks, kind of waiting, and nothing really happened. So I was like, okay, might as well go back to Finland, and things doesn't change too much, but at least I can spend it here, to my own place, and go out walking here in the nice nature of Helsinki, and enjoy the weather outside. I mean, yeah, it's nice being here.
Speaking of Helsinki, as it stands right now, the Blue Jackets are supposed to go there and play next year. I hope that all of this has no effect on what happens with that. But when you found out this year that the team was going to go play Colorado in Helsinki next year, being from there and having a chance to come back home and play in front of, the people in your country, play in front of your friends, play in front of your family, how excited were you when you found that out?
That was crazy. I remember Yarmo, he told me, I was like, are you serious? Like, yeah, it's, that's something you never even thought about. You can play NHL hockey in your own hometown, and that's a dream come true for me. I hope it happens. If it doesn't happen next season, I hope it happens at some point. But that'll be really, really nice. Play in front of the friends in my, in the rink that I spent most of my childhood as well. Yeah, see my family there watching a game. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will happen at some point. Again, we hope that it doesn't get interrupted next year, but let's be honest, nobody knows what's going on for the remainder of this year,
Exactly.
let alone next year. So, I think it also helps that Yarmo is the general manager here. I think that he might have a little bit of pull in making sure it happens at some point.
Maybe a little bit, right?
I would hope so. No question. How many of your teammates have you been in contact with here over the last couple of weeks? Do you talk on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, we have, the team chat. We had that one, Snapchat, stuff like this, and we throw some messages over there daily basis. Just chatting and seeing how people are and staying safe and healthy.
Are you getting any more information? I know some things came out this week where the league is saying that they're going to play in July. Again, nothing concrete, but there's a lot of reports that have come out in the last couple of days. Have they talked to any of you guys, especially that are over in Europe, about when you need to start getting a timetable set for how you're going to return to the United States?
Nothing, nothing exact dates or anything. I've heard the same thing as you. So yeah, it's, you hear stuff, they're trying to figure it out, and but there's no timetables yet, at least what I heard.
Is there anything you've been able to do to work on your game? Because I mean, how do you? Nobody's shooting pucks at you in your house. I mean, how do you work on that kind of stuff? Is there anything to do?
You know, I'm working out off ice every day. I have my bike next to my couch, some dumbbells, stuff like this. So I can do the off ice works here as well in my own apartment. But you know, working on goalie stuff, it's really hard if you're not on the ice. So the only thing I've been doing is to, you know, try to juggle with tennis balls and, you know, put it on the walls and try to, you know, keep my hand-eye coordination in shape.
You have any idea once you're back how long it realistically will take you as a goalie to be ready to go? Not that they're going to ask you, not that they're going to say, "Hey, we'll wait as long as it takes for you," but you know, how many weeks do you feel that it'll take for you to find your game again?
Uh, it's gonna take. It's hard to say, but I would say at least like 2 weeks. Uh, you know, daily skating and stuff like this. But you know, it's a different thing. Just practice. You know, that's why we play the exhibition games before the season too. So it kind of, you know, you get to gain action there. But you know, you got to be ready for everything.
And if you come back and it turns out that they just decide to start the playoffs, are you cool with that as long as the Blue Jackets are in the playoffs?
100%. As long as we're in.
Yeah. How much have you talked to Manny Legacy, your goaltending coach? Because I know that he's very tight with his goalies. You have great relationships. How much have you talked to him during this break?
A lot. I mean, we just been throwing messages as well with Manny and just, you know, asking how things are and what he's been doing, and same thing for me as well. And you know, great guy, really great guy.
And you had a chance to work with him when you were in Cleveland because he was with the Monsters before he took over the job here with the Blue Jackets. You've had a chance to create a pretty good relationship with him over the years, haven't you?
Oh yeah, since my first season when I get to Columbus, you know, I went to Cleveland, start the season back then, and yeah, Manny was there from the day one, and you know, we've been working now for 5 years. So yeah, it's, you know, that was pretty cool. He got the job in NHL team as well, and you know, we had the relationship already there, and it's nice to work with the, you know, he's a guy who knows what kind of goalie I am, and you know, have a long history with him, so it's pretty nice.
And he's a guy that played in the NHL. He was a starter. He was a backup. He can kind of give you the lay of the land on every part of the position, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And you know, he's a great guy with all the technical stuff with the goals as well, and you know, he has that part as well. You know, he's been in the NHL for a while, and he's been to every position, and he's won the Stanley Cup as well. And you know, there's so much to learn from him. It's crazy. You know, he knows how to win as a team as well, and you know, so much experience. It's great to work with him.
Well, Joonas, thank you for doing this, and again, congratulations on the contract extension. Obviously, it is very well deserved and well earned, and I couldn't be happier to know that you're going to be around for a couple more years just to watch you play and have conversations like this. So congratulations on that. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And hopefully we see you back here in North America soon.
Me too.